What's good, fam? Can we talk? Let's talk. So last week I had the pleasure of attending the UOU summit with ET, the hip hop preacher and gang. And one of the presenters that he had on there was Jen Gottlieb. And she told this story about how she went to a mastermind conference, I believe it was. And when she showed up, they had buckets of ice water out there. And what they did was challenge everybody to jump into the bucket. I thought to myself, yeah, that's crazy. You pay all this money to go to a mastermind conference and they tell you to jump in the ice cold in the ice water bucket. Oh yeah, that was silly. Right, right. But I don't know, I just all of a sudden got infatuated with ice baths and ice showers. But now I ain't doing that. So for whatever reason today, I jump on YouTube and the first short that comes up is Joe Rogan taking an ice bath plunge. I'm talking the whole top of the water was an ice cube. I mean, like, goodness gracious, it was cold as a mug, and you can tell. But he's just sitting in that mug. And then from that point on, it seemed like every video I saw, of course, the algorithm must have kicked in because every video that YouTube put on was people taking ice showers and ice baths. I don't know what happened, man. I must have got a wild hair up my butt because I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take a cold shower today. I'm gonna jump in this tub and take a cold. I mean, jump in this shower and take an ice cold shower. You know what, Corey? You gotta challenge yourself. You gotta do it. You gotta jump in this shower. You know what? Yeah, that sounds terrifying. Cold as a mug. You know what I mean? You gotta go jump in the shower. And so don't get it twisted. I took the punk route. I turned the shower on and well, let me prepare you. Before I did that, I stood outside the shower for about 5 minutes trying to get myself psyched up to jump into the shower. Yeah, I just knew you was gonna talk yourself out of it. I'm like, this dude standing outside the shower entirely too dang long. Any minute he just getting ready to be like, forget that. He jumped in. Yeah, I took the punk route of it. Don't get it twisted. I turned the shower on hot water, but I jumped in that mug while the hot water was still freezing cold. And I'm sitting in that mug and it is cold. And I'm like, I'm starting to hyperventilate. I'm like, breathe, Corey, breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It's cold. Please hurry up and warm up. Please hurry up and warm up. Oh man, that warm water never felt so good in my life. Oh my goodness. It was the craziest thing ever. So the warm water kick in, I take my shower, and then I get out the shower, and I had this weird feeling that came over me. It was like the weirdest feeling. I felt like I'd accomplished something. Like I'm like, dude, all you did was take a cold shower, but it was really just the overcoming of fear. And then you started realizing that most of our fears, for real, are psychological. You're not getting ready to die. Is it gonna be uncomfortable? Yeah, very uncomfortable. I ain't getting ready to sit here and tell you no lies. It was cold. But most of our fears really are just irrational mind tricks that we playing. Like for years, I know I'm about to tell on myself, man, and say something that's probably gonna turn a whole bunch of people. But I hate touching fish. I don't get it twisted. I love fishing. I just hate touching them suckers. So every time I go fishing, I gotta if I forget my gloves, I gotta stop at Walmart or something to go buy me some gloves because I'm not touching that fish. That's why you can't never catch no fish. Fish be looking up like, oh yeah, that's just Corey, boy. He's scared to touch us. Boy, don't worry about it. Leave him alone. And even when I put worms on the hook, I'm like, yeah, I hate touching the slime. Ugh. What kind of grown man scared of a worm? What you think that worm gonna do to you? So the last time I went fishing, let me tell you, nothing says conquering your fears like having your children go fishing with you, and they sitting there talking about, Dad, put the worm on the hook for me, Dad. Now what am I supposed to be, a punk in front of my child? I'm like, I'm not getting ready to be no punk in front of my child. I gotta grab this worm. So you, oh shoot, grab the dang worm, Corey. So grab the worm and you hurry it up and get in there. Be still, worm, be still. And you putting the dang worm on the hook and then there you go, son. And meanwhile, you like, man, don't you ever bring me no more dang worms. But one of the craziest stories was a couple of summers ago, we go down to the Lake of the Ozarks. And it's this big old cliff, notorious for like little cliff jumping and everything. Everybody goes to jump off the cliff. And one of my my partner whose house we was down there with, he takes us out and the family out on the boat and everything. And Cole's like, "Yeah, I want to jump off the cliff." And my partner, who know that I'm scared of heights, is like, "Oh yeah, I'll jump with you." He was like, "No, don't worry about it. My dad'll go." I'm like, "No, your dad won't." But I can't be a punk in front of my son, right? But I'm scared to death. So we walk up on this cliff and everything. And the first cliff we jump off, because he's just trying to get his little feel for everything. And so he goes to the edge and then he sits on the edge and looks over. And then he jumps off one part of the cliff. And I'm like, oh crap, here's kid go. I just was hoping to God. I'm like, yeah, find it. Be scared, son. Be scared. There's nothing wrong with it. We'll go back down the mountain. No, this sucker jumps off the cliff. And then sure enough, he swims back around. Let's go higher, Dad. I'm like, what? Man, we go around there and we get to a part where it's high. And I'm sitting there looking at this mug and I'm looking off the edge and I'm like, oh, shoot. He's like, Dad, go ahead and jump. I'm sitting on this mug like, I got to catch my breath. I got to catch my breath. Man, I'm sitting there and he's like, Dad, you gonna jump? I'm like, yeah, son. It's just that walk with this vest on. I got to catch my breath. I'm a little out of breath. I'm like, meanwhile, like, please, Lord. So I'm standing on the ledge of this cliff, like, Lord, please don't let me die in front of my son. Please don't let me die. Ah, splash. Right now, every time I tell you the story, I'm like, man, this cliff had to be like 20 or 30 feet up in the air. I'm telling you, this mug was way up there. There you go, selling tickets, man. Every time you tell that story, dang cliff get higher and higher. That cliff was like 10 feet off the water. Oh man. But I had to do it, right? Because I don't want to grow up in a world, to have my children grow up in a world where I teach them fear, right? Now, here it is. My fear was irrational. I mean, you got little kids jumping off of the higher part of the cliff and they landing in the water just fine, right? But my fear of heights, my mental fear of heights has me in a condition, in a stuck state where I'm scared to jump off this dang cliff because I'm thinking something's gonna happen. And I tell my brother, and he's like, dude, it's water. What did you think was gonna happen? I don't know, but I had this irrational fear of it. And it was crazy, just like the jumping off the cliff when I took the cold shower. When it was over with, I felt like, wow, I just accomplished something. All this time I've been having this irrational fear of doing certain things, not because things is justified, not because there's really something that has proven that that's gonna be harm for me. You sitting here watching other people do it. So why do I have this irrational fear? And so really, man, I've just been on this journey to start conquering these fears. Really just reprogramming my mind to realize that all of the stuff that I'm fearing, most of all of that stuff is just inside my head. None of it is actually going to manifest itself. And then sometimes you do get hurt. Sometimes you do crack. But that's just a part of the learning process. You never know if you can overcome something. You never know if you won't even enjoy something unless you take that risk and jump off the cliff, or in other words, jump in the cold shower. They say it's health benefits to it. I don't know. I might have to keep trying. But for right now, yeah, it'll be a minute before I take another cold shower. That water was cold. That water was cold. I tell you what, man. If this video, if you can relate, if you've ever taken a cold shower or jumped off the cliff and realized after you did it that you really had nothing to fear, man, give me a shout out. For the rest of y'all, I'll be blessed.